Hi everybody, welcome to Fishtales. I'm your host, Lando Nero.
And I'm Jacobsen with an E.
G'day guys, I'm Liam from Portland, Maine. I'm Australian, not English, don't make that mistake. I'm going to be talking about beer today, and I've got a wooden leg.
Hello everybody and welcome to this episode of Fishtales. With us, we've got Jacobsen as usual. How you doing, Jacobsen?
I'm doing swell. How are you, Lando?
I'm pretty good, thanks for asking. And we got
Of course.
Liam. How you doing, Liam?
G'day mate, I am well. How are you? You've already
Still
answered that,
good.
who cares? I just caught a fish though.
Oh, really?
A fish though. Sorry.
Good.
Yeah.
Fish ever in
Oh, I
Sea of
see it.
Thieves for Liam.
Let's see if he gets it.
First fish.
Oh wait, I think I'm
I
watching
did?
Jacobsen fish. Oh wait, you
Yeah,
actually
that's
caught it
me.
already?
I did.
Hell yeah!
We caught him
Congrats.
before we even went live.
Oh,
That's funny.
don't tell them that. Oh my lordy. Well, how y'all been this week? What have you been up to? What's some highs and lows? Jacobsen,
Andrew,
go.
you go first.
Straight to me. I got to play some D&D on someone else's stream last night, and that was a lot of fun.
Ooh, who's that?
Leah the Unicorn she's right now running the Lost Mines of Phandelver,
Oh.
the starter box adventure. And it's a goofy party. It's a great time. Okay, yep. It goes under the boat and it fucks my line.
Oh, mine almost did. Please don't. Please
Can I
don't.
shoot it?
Sure. Mike might make my life a little easier. Ah, damn. Well, we tried.
Shoot the fish.
What's wrong, man? I thought this was America.
Where is the Sea of Thieves? Oh, yep. Every time you reel in, they go under the boat.
Yeah. I think I'll have that catch too. And as soon as it went under the boat, it killed the line.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was fun while it lasted. Looks like we're. All right. Yeah, that was a much smarter idea.
I don't want to eat any bananas right now.
Yeah, I had to waste a pineapple because it's all I had in my inventory. I'm also not going to waste earthworms because I think it's nighttime, so we'll be getting. Yeah. Anyway, Liam, what'd you do this week?
Unfortunately, due to the novel coronavirus, I have been gainfully unemployed for quite some time. But my wife and I have a 3.5-year-old daughter and a 4-month-old son.
Oh.
So that's been keeping me busy, and I've
Sure.
been applying for a lot of jobs, and had quite a few interviews with a fantastic brewery here in Portland, Maine. Today, in fact, I had 3 interviews today, which has been fun. With one brewery. By the time I'm all said and done, I will have done a total of 9 interviews for said brewery. So we will see.
Nice.
That's a lot of interviews.
It's a lot of interviews. It really is.
Well, at least they're making sure they get it
Beer
right.
enough today. We ask you to come and join us and talk about beer some more, as if you haven't had your share and your fill of it.
Oh, that's fine. No, mostly it's been talking about teamwork and how to make the dream work.
What is your philosophy on teamwork?
It's
Hands
important.
make light work.
Anyway, but enough about me.
We can go on to beer.
Sure.
I do enjoy a good beer.
What are we drinking?
Right now I've got Mountain Beach, which is a sour by Breckenridge. It's pineapple, lime, and guava. It's like I like 2 sours in my life. I like this one, which I did not expect to, and then I also like Sippin' Pretty with Odell.
Yeah.
Recently too, and I actually like that beer. And
Right?
I didn't think I'd like it. I had it recently, and it wasn't too sour, and I think that's
No.
part of why I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's like
Do you happen to know if these beers are Kettle Sours or not?
this is a session sour.
Okay. Do I need to tell you what a Kettle Sour is?
Yep, I didn't even know there were different classifications.
Okay. Well, here we go. We're going to go straight into the weeds. Well, before we do that, so Andrew, what are you drinking, mate?
I'm drinking Persistence. It's a barrel-aged American sour ale, fermented with cherries from Wicked Weed Brewing.
Ooh, Wicked Weed. Another. Looks like you boys are all on the AB bandwagon today. So I in fact I'm double fisting right now, which is difficult because I'm also using a controller. But I found a way. Both of my beers are from a fabulous Maine brewery called Allagash. Did I mention they're fabulous?
I don't think.
Plug completely intended. So first of all, I'm drinking their flagship beer, which is Allagash White, which is a fantastic Belgian-style wheat beer with coriander and curacao orange peel. It's akin to Hoegaarden, if you've ever had a Hoegaarden before.
No, but that sounds delicious.
Belgian wits are just a spectacular beverage. They're not heavy. You know, if you think of Hefeweizens, the Hefeweizens are very sweet. I love Hefeweizens, but they're not like that. But the other beer that I have is a brand new release from them. Since you guys were drinking sours, I thought I'd grab a sour myself. This one is called From Maine with Love #1. And it's the beginning of a series from them. This is a sour, but it's a blend. So it's a blend of Allagash White with something called a Cool Ship Red, which is one of their premier sour beers. So if you want to, I can go into the weeds of sours, or we can talk about how we enjoy our beers, or we can talk about whatever you want. You're leading this show.
I want to know like a little bit about the different brewing processes, but like, talk to me like I'm 5.
Well, how's Paw Patrol for a start? My daughter's very much enjoying Paw Patrol these days.
I'm surprised that's still running.
I don't know if it is. We just bought it on Amazon. Shameless plug.
Go support your local conglomerate. That's really nice. Why?
Exactly. Well, you know, I mean,
shit on us for drinking beers that happen to be under the AB banner.
Exactly.
I just Venmo Jeff Bezos.
Just so y'all know, Paw Patrol is still going.
Oh, thank you. That's when you choose to interject right now.
Does it get there on the double?
But what's the difference between a session sour and a kettle sour?
Well, they're not necessarily mutually exclusive. All that session means is that it is a sessionable beer, which means it's usually below 5% ABV.
Okay.
So that comes from an English thing of they would say, drinking session, which means they would basically, usually pubs were only open for a couple of hours after they'd finished work, and they didn't want to go home screaming drunk. And so they would basically go and have a session, so they'd be able to drink, 2 or 3, effectively were light beers before they were called light beers.
Yeah.
Interesting, but light beer in America means light in calories. Light beer everywhere else means low in alcohol. Low calorie beers hadn't really taken off anywhere except America. Sorry, catching a small fish and it's giving me jip. So kettle sours are generally done effectively overnight before the fermentative process actually begins. So you already drop the pH with using lactobacillus overnight during
Which
the brewing
explains the
process.
chill part.
Yep, and then you pop that into. Oh, come on, give me big fish.
You got that big one.
Come here.
There you go.
On. Yes. And they for a long time were regarded as somewhat of a cheat in regards to sour beers, because sour beers traditionally, as in globally, take a lot longer because you would usually put them in barrels for months, if not years, and you add the microbes, or you do a wild fermentation, which
And that's what likens them
very briefly
to ciders.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, also the flavors. So in ciders, ciders as well as wines, in many cases, use yeast that is basically on the grapes or the apples themselves. You oftentimes do not need to add yeast like you normally would in beer. So you basically just crush it all up, and then whatever's there, you get. And you get those sort of same things as well, but what you're looking for in a sour beer is those different microbes, which in what's called clean beer, which is your regular lagers and your ales and whatnot, you don't want those. And to be perfectly frank, for thousands of years, more than likely, pretty much all beer was slightly smoky and slightly sour because they really didn't know what yeast was. Yeast was only discovered a couple of hundred years ago. In the very famous German Reinheitsgebot, which is the German beer purity law. Oh, you bastard!
What happened? Oh,
don't
probably the
know.
plank.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, you got to probably step to the end. Damn,
Bugger.
that was close.
I had
That
it.
fucker was huge.
Oh, it's a big boy. So, yeast was only discovered quite recently. So all of these other different microbes, as we've been discovering through microbiology, what they are, and people are like, oh, that's what this thing does, and oh, this tastes this way because of that. Now, beer didn't used to be clean, so people have only gotten in modern times used to drinking clean beer effectively because that's what companies tell them is the best thing to drink. Oh well, and there's an old adage. It's actually from Monty Python, but that drinking lagers is essentially like having sex in a canoe. You heard this one?
What? No. Jacobsen,
drinking lagers is like having sex in a canoe because it's fucking close to water. And so, marketing will have you say that it's a crisp, refreshing taste. It really doesn't taste like anything, especially if you chill it down to, the level of nothing. Most beer was drunk relatively warm, and if you've had a warm beer, it's a lot more flavorful, should we say, because your taste buds really only your taste buds are shut down effectively the colder things are, which is why if you've ever had melted ice cream or drunk a popsicle after it's melted, it's like, good God, this is sweet. Well, that's why, is because your taste buds are reacting to the warmth of it.
That's why they want you to drink Coors Light cold as fuck.
Exactly, the Blue Mountains and whatnot. It's super refreshing. You drink it, it's just like water. It's like having sex in the canoe. And you just can pound them down. The more beers you pound down, the more you're buying. So, you're not there to enjoy them. So that's why
that's like a lot of beer.
Kettle Sours were, as I said, regarded to some degrees as cheating because they take one night as opposed to months or years in a barrel, and there's so much artistry that goes into those. So I mentioned From Maine with Love. So I mentioned that it's made with a wonderful beer from Allagash called Cool Ship Red. Now, a cool ship is a very old brewing technique, usually only used by the Belgians. Allagash Brewing was the first brewery outside of Belgium to make one of these things. And so, as I mentioned earlier, you have to chill wort for microbes to be able to live in it. And in modern times, that's done with all sorts of different things, refrigeration, heat exchangers, all sorts of different things. But back in the day, essentially they just put it outside on a cold night. And just like, a shallow pool of anything will cool faster because of surface area. Mm-hmm. So you literally pump the hot wort into these things, let it sit, and they've got a room. It's a beautiful cool ship room at Allagash. And they open the windows, and all of the wild flora, all of the, just yeast and bacteria and stuff in the air just blows on in and inoculates the wort, and then they put it in a fermenter and barrels, and away it goes. And
that's kind of cool.
It's a beautiful thing. And then
so it would be, the taste of it would then change on the locale of which you're making it because the flora of
absolutely.
Okay.
And that's why the Belgians were extremely adamant that it could not be done outside, because you couldn't make and you can't make a lambic outside of the region of Belgium, because much like Champagne, you can only make lambics in that region. But they're like, no, there's no other thing like this. This is the only place that it can happen. But well, lo and behold, you can. You just have to have a lot of patience and time and really be very inventive. So going on from that, so the cool ship beers that they make, and they make some wonderful beers, They make one called Cool Ship Red, which is made with a lot of raspberries. Look at that fish. That's a big one. Oh, yeah. Good job.
Thank you.
You mentioned the beer that you're drinking right now. It uses that beer and another beer. It's a mixture, right?
It does, yes.
Yeah. So how frequent is that? Like it's not very often I feel like that I see beers released by a brewery where it's a combination of some of their other brands.
But if you look at Leinenkugel's, they have a brewing pack and they tell you ways to combine them.
Ooh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Oh yeah, they do
That's
that in the
kinda
Minnesota
cool.
State Fair too. Like they'll give you half and half, and like you can make beers out of their beers, and they're actually really
I mean,
freaking good.
Yeah, Black and Tan is a perfect example of a
Right.
of a blend, and things like that. But honestly, it's generally sour beers. So it's the thing about sour beers and making them in barrels and such is they're nowhere near as predictable as as clean brewed beers are either, right? So depending, you put things in a barrel. Barrels aren't a closed environment. You're going to get all sorts of different things and flavors and whatnot. And you might have some barrels that are terrible.
So theoretically, so Mountain Beach, the one I'm drinking, is a mass release. So they would have to keep using the same barrels for each
More
set.
than likely, does it say they were barrel aged?
That's
Yeah.
a good question.
It's probably that one. They probably just have it science so that they're gonna like all end up pretty similar. Whereas the one that I'm drinking that does say like barrel aged American sour ale, there's probably going to be more variance between batches.
There's going to be a lot of variance between batches, as well as but what they'll do is they go through, and I'm generalizing a lot, but they'll go through individual barrels, sometimes hundreds of them, and essentially write down all of the flavor characteristics of that barrel. And numerous people taste them, it's not just one. And so then what they'll do is select based on the flavor profile that they want, because you can make a whole bunch of different stuff and you can make a whole bunch of different beers out of them by blending things to get what you want, right? And so yes, you are going to see a significant amount of change throughout in anything that's barrel aged. Because consistency is very difficult to attain when using barrels, because barrels bleed a lot of oxygen. You want a pretty controlled environment because, so Brettanomyces, for example, Brettanomyces is from Breton. It's been used in brewing for a long time, either by accident or not, and it imparts a whole bunch of different flavors, some barnyard, all sorts of different things. But if they get Brett in wine, they have to dump the entire batch because it imparts flavors that they absolutely do not want. So it's a fine line to walk, and if you want to make sour beers, you can absolutely do it, but you have to be pretty careful because you're dealing with microbes that will potentially infect your entire brewery. And oftentimes when
you have more of an appreciation for sour beers because you know what goes into making it and like the complexity and stuff like that. Like does that
Yeah, I
increase
think so.
your appreciation for sours? Like even like this one that I'm drinking, I enjoy quite a bit, but I do find like most of the time like sours aren't something that I want that much of, and I would rather in most cases have an IPA. I'm a hophead.
Which I'm
Cool.
also a hophead, and after I finish this sour, I say we switch and talk about our favorite beers because I want to talk about IPAs.
We can talk about IPAs, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, look, sours are, they've become a heck of a lot more popular than they used to be. Let me just say that.
For sure.
There's a lot more. There's a lot more people drinking beer than there were 5 years ago as well.
You could say the same of IPAs about 10 years ago. Like IPAs
certainly
weren't
could.
popular until about like 10 or so years ago is when they
lagers.
really picked up. Yeah,
Yeah,
everything was lagers, right? I mean, like everything was like Bud Light. Like your most unique beers, and this is coming from someone that's worked in a restaurant for a long time. Is like Corona was considered fancy, right?
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
and Stella Artois
Oh, no,
was considered like I do not care for Stella. I've never liked Stella Artois, but people are like, that's a good beer. I'm like, it's boring as fuck to me.
It
Sorry
reminds
if you
me
like
a little
Stella
of
Artois.
Heineken.
I'm also not sorry because I hate it. That being said, like Newcastle was one that like I really got into when I started enjoying beer more, and I found, you know, like I kind of had an enjoyment of brown ales. But now, after becoming like a hophead and like getting into IPAs and stuff like that, I find like I try to go back to Newcastle, and it's just bland to me.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, honestly, and the same thing can be said of other what used to be considered super hoppy beers. I mean, like I remember drinking Sierra Nevada back in the day,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
thinking, "Oh my god, it's blowing my freaking brains out! It's so hoppy." I mean, and it tastes like lemonade now. it's a war of attrition with our taste buds, effectively.
Just
And
you just our palate changing over time, and you know the flavors and stuff that we throw at it.
And the same thing can be said for sour beer as well. Like the more, and I say it to people all the time, both with IPAs and with sour beers and all sorts of different things. Is like, you know, if you don't enjoy it, you just haven't necessarily found the one, because there is an enormous variety. And to just put a blanket of no, I don't like anything when there is such a range, and that can be for food or for movies or for music or for anything, is extremely limiting. And so when people just outright say, I don't drink sour beers because they're terrible, then you can make all the judgment you want on those kind of people.
I kind of refused to drink a sour until I finally found, like, I didn't want to try Sippin' Pretty, but I was like, you know what? Fuck it, I'll give it a shot. And it actually, like, it was really good.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where, like, I feel like if a sour beer, like, I'll let people know, hey, I'm not really into sours. I'll try a sour, but like, I find that sometimes when people are like sharing a beer or something that they really like with you, and you don't take to it, it's like a personal thing, and it's not. And it's not. Like, yeah, like it's one of those things where it's like, I'm sorry, this isn't something that my palate enjoys. You don't like, and I do the same thing. Like, right? I'm like, oh, you got to try this drink this IPA, and they're like, oh, I can't stand IPAs. It's like, oh, you will.
Oh, I
actually
think
just really quick, I think we should be drunk for this conversation.
I was just backwards walking into the captain's cabin, and I don't know why. I can't dance. I can't dance with the cup. Oh. Ooh.
Maybe we should be sober for this conversation. That was interesting. So, favorite beer. Liam, I'm genuinely curious, since you're like so close to the industry, and like, I don't know, when you get close to something, it kind of like loses its magic sometimes. Do you have a favorite, like one beer for the rest of your life? Hot ass day, you want a Colden, what you grabbing?
It's not very interesting because I've already mentioned it a few times, but Allagash White, without question, my absolute desert island beer. Damn. No question.
That's like always been your favorite, hasn't it?
Yep, for a long time. I mean, look, I love a lot of other beers. I love a lot of other beers, but there is, if I were to drink one beer for the rest of my life, I would happily make it Allagash White.
Is it like where? So, from off-cam things, I know it's not available where I'm at now. Do you know it's in? Maybe it's in Minnesota.
It very well could be. I mean, you can. The Allagash website has a beer finder.
So you can have to give it a shot, because like if it's a brewer's favorite, it's got to be something worth a try.
And like I said, it's won a lot of awards. Like it's won gold medal. I mean, Allagash quite literally just won best brewery in America. So, and this is the brewery that I'm hopefully going to be working for.
Plugs.
There's many
reasons. The people that just interviewed him, so
yeah,
that's part of it's like an addition to his resume.
I mean, you know, I've loved them for a long time. It's not like I'm saying any of these things to get a job. It's just they are a spectacular brewery.
Jacobsen, one beer, rest of your life. What you grabbing?
honest first choice would probably be Dogfish Head 90 Minute, but since we just talked about it, I'm gonna stay Stone Zokavesa. And I don't know if have you ever had it? Are you
No,
familiar
I've
with
never heard of it. It sounds like Greek.
it? Have you had it, Liam?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an imperial stout from Stone Brewery in San Diego, and it's stylized after a Mexican hot chocolate.
Which
So it's
explains
got-
the name.
Yeah, so it's got like some cocoa vibes and a little like there's a little bit of like a pepperiness, but it's not very prominent to me.
Huh.
It doesn't stand out to me so much. But like typically if I go towards a stout, I like the imperial stouts because I enjoy that richness of flavor that they offer. That bitterness, that sweetness, you know, that flavor profile I really enjoy in a stout. But yeah, so I'll say that after the 90 minute.
All right, fair enough.
Have you ever had a spicy beer before, Lando? As in a hot spicy?
No, I don't think so.
They're quite an experience. Quite an experience.
Yeah, I don't think that those, like, when I think beer, I think like you grab it after your mouth feels spicy to calm your palate.
You shouldn't. It's the worst thing you can do. But yeah,
Really?
absolutely. Best thing you can do is grab milk.
Well, yeah. But I don't know, I like it to wash down meals, and like I prefer spice meals, so it feels nice. And really, it's that bad?
It's not good for it. No.
Huh, I've never noticed.
How about you though, Lando? Like what beer would you want if one beer for the rest of your life? What would it be?
Well, I do like IPAs. I like them very much. It's more of like a, I don't think, because they're so hoppy. Like, I do enjoy hops, do not get me wrong, but for the rest of my life, I mean, granted, I might get used to it, but I'm going to have to say, from Castle Danger, northern Minnesota, Castle Cream Ale.
Ooh, cream ale.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's like,
interesting.
I really like it. It's the only cream ale I think I've ever had. No, there's also Ursa Minor Cream Ale, which is also very good. That's a big contender. I think it's called, I don't remember, it's a constellation of some kind, but yeah, super good. I do like me some cream ales.
Castle Danger has at least gets an award from me for coolest name of a brewery.
It's also the name of the town.
Castle
Which is
Danger?
awesome too.
Yeah,
That's pretty amazing.
isn't it? It's kind of badass.
It's
pretty
amazingly badass.
That's pretty cool. My roommate, one of his favorite beers is a cream ale, Cali Creamin',
Huh.
from Mother Earth Brewing.
Yeah,
I
what
love
is
that name.
Eureka? No. Is it Eureka?
I don't know that it might be. I'm not sure. Not too sure.
I don't remember.
Have you ever had Rosali, Liam?
Oh, what's that from?
Rosali is Firestone and Walker. It's a rosé beer.
I've
Ooh.
had. I'm almost certain I have. I've got some friends who work at Firestone. In fact, some who worked at Godman previously, and a lot of their stuff from their. It's not called the Skunk Works. What's it called? Barrel Works.
Works?
Yeah, it's Barrel Works. There's Funk Works, and yeah, there's all sorts of things. But what's the one I've had? Madame Rose. No, Madame Rose is from Goose Island. Oh, it's gonna kill me. But yeah, no, they do some absolutely fantastic stuff. Some great sours and some great barrel aged stuff, and yeah, really quality.
Is I want to change my answer to Wookie Jack.
Ooh, Wookie Jack?
Wookie Jack is from Firestone and Walker, and it's probably a marriage of like the best way I could think to describe it is as a marriage of the two beers that I did mention, Dogfish Head 90 Minute and Zokavesa. Because while it's not a stout, it is a black rye imperial IPA.
Wow.
So it's a very dark beer.
Yeah.
It's got a multi profile. It's got that hoppiness. It's very good. I haven't had it for some time now, but Wookie Jack is a very good beer.
And
I
it'll
mean,
tear
I'm
your arms
interested.
off if you lose.
Exactly.
I love the amount of Star Wars references that have gone on today.
Oh, absolutely.
I was gonna say though, Rosali the rosé beer was actually a beer that I was surprised I liked as much as I did, because it's not something. It's not a beer that I would have ever thought to seek out. But someone got it and I tried it and I was like, this is very good and like very refreshing.
Do you
I'll
know
have to
what
give it
the
a shot.
ingredients are?
I don't. But I know it's a rosé beer from Firestone and Walker.
Interesting.
Well, is there anything else y'all would want to talk about? Otherwise, I think we're at time.
I'm all out of bait. We are also out of bait.
Yeah, we've been out of bait for a while.
I think I mean, I can talk the leg off the chair and can continue to crap on endlessly, but I've had a wonderful time, and thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for being on, bro. It's been a nice time. It's nice to talk about beer with people who know more about beer than me, because none of my friends like beer.
It's a shame.
It is.
If I could recommend a couple of books about beer, if you're interested in learning about it, there is, I mean, the Bible of learning to brew is literally called How to Brew. It's a pretty obvious title. That's a great book. And then there's Beer and Food is another great book that basically says why certain beers go well with certain foods.
Okay.
It's not a manual per se. It breaks down the sort of science of it, and yeah, those are the two books that I'd recommend. And then, or just go to a brewery, go to your local craft brewery, and start talking to the person behind the bar, and they will be more than happy to talk about it.
Yeah, that one I've done. It's super fun. But anyway, yeah, that's it for us today, this evening, afternoon, morning, whenever the hell you're watching this. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Fishtales with myself and Jacobsen.
That's me.
We'll hope to see you here next week. Also, this feels really wasteful.
What feels wasteful?
Burning down the ship every time. Do you think we should just, like, make a cookie cutter ending?
I don't know. Let's talk about it next week.
Sounds good.